Sup VC, Bobby B here. Time for another episode of Spins, Finds, and Whatever. I just finished doing another video that went a little longer than I expected, and I still had more records to show, so I stopped it there. Hopefully you saw it. It was probably posted about a week ago or something, and now I'm moving forward with the rest of the finds that I was planning on showing you in the last video, but I'm showing them to you in this video instead. The first is an album by Illuminati Hotties. Illuminati Hotties are an indie pop band from Los Angeles, California. This is actually a mixtape that they made. Now, what does that mean? Because if you're of my age and generation, a mixtape is a cassette that you make for a friend of other people's songs, where you put them together and make a little compilation. That's my generation's version of a mixtape. But the kids today, when they're talking about a mixtape, what they're talking about is an album that's recorded and then released to the public for free via the internet, digitally for free via the internet. So that's a mixtape. So Illuminati Hotties purposefully leaked this mixtape online. Apparently it was connected to an exit agreement from their label, Tiny Engines. It allowed Sarah Tudzin, who's the lead singer, to buy out her Tiny Engines contract with a cash settlement and a payment of royalties on a future project. And anyways, that's what this was. So she did that, and then they released a very limited number of copies of that mixtape on vinyl. The first were on a colored vinyl. I forget what color it was. I missed out on that. Then they released this one on black vinyl. And apparently the first 300 copies also had like a zine that was included. Missed out on that too, but I still managed to get this. It's completely sold out now, and they said they're never repressing it ever again. So this is it's kind of cool to have this. And this is a great album. Their last album, their debut, was called Kiss Your Frenemies, and it was just a great indie pop album. One of my favorite albums of 2018. I thought it was really good. This is a little bit more kind of in the mold of Riot Girl, very, punkier, more abrasive, more aggressive. Definitely got a bit of a lo-fi sound to it. I think it is so much fun, and I think it is so great. If you take home one recommendation from me today, it'll be the last one that I show in this video. But if you take home two, do this one, Illuminati Hotties. The first song in this album is entitled, and it's the single too. She made a video for it. It's entitled, "Will I Get Cancelled If I Write a Song Called If You Were a Man, You'd Be So Cancelled?" Illuminati Hotties. Oh, and the album is called Free IH. This is not the one you've been waiting for. Sorry, that's the name of the album. So that's that. Illuminati Hotties. This next one is on the Beyond is Beyond label. It is some modern psychedelia by a group called Wax Machine, and this album is entitled Earth Song of Silence. As you know, the first first Friday of every month since COVID started, Bandcamp has been allowing you to buy music, where Bandcamp will give all the money to the artist. And so if you want to support artists and musicians during this time, Bandcamp is a great way to do it. The first Friday of every month, all the money goes to them. So I took advantage of that with this. I took advantage of that with some other albums too. I just haven't received those in the mail yet, but I got this one. This is some great psych rock. The little sticker here the little hype sticker here, it says, Wax Machine, clattering odysseys that resolve to map nowhere and everywhere are nestled next to propulsive grooves that lop at head-nodding ecstasy. I've got nothing else to add to that. It was produced by Kikagaku Moyo's Go Kurosawa. So if you like the music of Kikagaku Moyo, then you'll probably dig on this album as well. It's got a bit of a jammy feel to it. This is the insert. And the record is on gold and green swirl vinyl. Although, I ain't gonna lie to you, I do not see a lot of green on this. Just saying. But it says so right here on the hype sticker. Gold and green swirl vinyl. I think the guy who was supposed to add the green swirls went on a coffee break when he pressed my personal copy of this record. So, probably all the other copies have just massive amounts of green swirl on it. Mine does not. So mine is a rarity. And I am going to flip it online for $75,000 and buy more records. I would never do that. That's a great album. Okay, last video I talked about local record store Dead Dog Records, who does a deal of the day where they sell albums that they're having trouble selling for 40 to 60% off. So I took advantage of that yet again and bought this album by the Tedeschi Trucks Band. This is their 4th studio album entitled Signs. Tedeschi Trucks Band are an American blues rock group whose live show I really dig. I think they put on a very good live show. Their studio stuff is also good, but just not, it lacks the energy of that live show, and so it becomes kind of the type of thing, it often feels like the type of thing I've heard before. Not bad, but not anything super memorable. But that having been said, I really like this album. I think it's quite good. The band, Tedeschi Trucks Band, the lead singer, what is his name? I'm going to look that up very quickly here. I know it's Tedeschi, but, it's Trucks. Okay. Derek Trucks. This is his band. He's an amazing blues guitarist. His wife, Susan Tedeschi, sings on the album. She's got a great voice, kind of like Bonnie Raitt type of style. Yeah, kind of swamp rock, blues rock. They are a bit of a jam band, but that's more, you notice that more in their live show. Anyways, here's the insert with the lyrics, picture of the band, nice silhouetted picture of the band there. It's on black vinyl. It also comes with a 45. The 45 only contains one song on it and then an etching on the other side. Let's see if the etching shows up on camera. Here's the thing, then the etching. Yeah, there's no way that's showing up, is it? Sort of. Oh, there we go. Can you see that? Etching. Beautiful etching. The song on the 45 is called The Ending. Anyways, yeah, another album that I likely wouldn't have paid full price for, but because it was a nice deal and so on, I thought, hey, why not pull the trigger on that? And ultimately, I'm glad I did, because I like it. I think it's quite good. While I was at Dead Dog buying that record, I looked at their newly arrived used bin, and found another one of my all-time favorite albums by American rock band Jimmy Eat World. This is the album Clarity. This is their third album, I believe. Yep, their third album. But it's my favorite album by the band. Jimmy Eat World, they do get lumped into the kind of the, what you would call emo music a little bit, but I don't hear them as emo. To me, they're just a good alt rock band, power pop, maybe more closer to punk, like kind of punk pop band. You know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, there were a lot of those, right? Like after Green Day, there were so many of those. Some of them were good, some of them were terrible, but I really liked Jimmy Eat World. I don't know, they had something different, especially their earlier, up to and including Bleed American, which is the album that came right after that. This Bleed American is the album that had the song The Middle, which you know it, The Middle. It just takes some time, little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. So it sounds exactly like that. So if you liked that, you'll really enjoy that song. Yeah. So, anyways, that's a great album. It's got some fantastic songs, and I like this one a little bit better, but they're both excellent. So Clarity. There's a picture of the band. This is a latter-day reissue as well, Universal Music. So again, sides A, B, and C, because it was originally released on CD, I guess. So, you know, sides A, B, and C are the album, and then side D has some bonus cuts on it. Actually, the last song, Goodbye Sky Harbor, was on the original album, but then the last two songs, Christmas Card and a demo version of Sweetness, which appeared on the next album, Bleed American, is there. Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of that when they throw those extra songs on, tack it at the end of an album, but anyways, it is what it is. It's a great, great album, and I think this record sounds pretty good. Doesn't sound great, but it sounds pretty good. All right, and so now the final two albums I'm going to show you here is on the Murder Records label. Murder Records is a label that was formed in the 90s by from Halifax by the band Sloan, who I've mentioned many, many times, and they used it at the time to release their own albums along with some other, you know, singles and stuff for their friends out in Halifax. These days they use it primarily for Sloan archive albums and things like that, but then they'll still release albums by their friends. And I've got a couple of really, really good ones here that are unusual for the label. The first is this album here, Cola Wars. Sloan is a four-piece, but in recent years they've had this gentleman, Gregory McDonald, joining them on tour on keys, on keyboard. And so for all intents and purposes, as far as their live show goes, he's a member of the band. So this is his solo album that he released, entitled Cola Wars. And basically it's well, it tells you here on the line, on the back here, it says clearly, no acoustic instruments were used in the making of this record. So it's basically, you know, kind of ambient, electronic, you know, keyboard music, progressive. It's really, really an interesting listen. You know, kind of similar to, you know, some of the stuff that you might hear. Well, I mean, obviously bands like Tangerine Dream and stuff like that. But then, you know, I was even thinking of our own Derek Higgins. It's kind of got that feel on it, and it's really, really good. I like it. I liked it more than I thought I would. Let me just put it that way. And I like that kind of music, but I was expecting this to be a bit more amateurish or whatever. But it's actually really, really good. It is on clear cola vinyl, apparently, which is this. I don't know if you can. So that's supposed to be the color of cola. So usually I drink cola and don't spend a lot of time looking at it, so I can't tell you if that color is super authentic. This is one, though, that falls into the category of delicious. This is delicious. It's tasty because it looks like cola. But anyways, yeah, and here's the, this is kind of cool. This is the, so that's what Greg looks like. And there's some pictures there. It's funny, like you'll see he's kind of wearing these glasses in there, and it's actually the glasses that are here on the cover of the album. So kind of the promotional stuff that he did related to this album was heavily inspired by the movie, the 80s sci-fi classic They Live. I don't know if you remember that movie. It starred the wrestler Rowdy Roddy Piper. A really fun, stupid but fun movie. Anyways, yeah, so he kind of mimics that in the promotional materials for this album. And original copies of this came with a big poster and stuff like that. I didn't get that, but anyways. But here's the one that I really wanted to highlight. It's this album here, also on the Murder Records label, by a guy named Matthew Grimson. And this album is entitled Prize for Writing. And so Matthew Grimson was a Canadian musician from Halifax, Nova Scotia. He only released, one solo album back in 2002 on an independent label entitled A Life Played for Keeps, and he released a 2-song single in 2010 on Joel Plaskett's New Scotland Records label. Now, Joel Plaskett was in a band, he's also from the Halifax scene. He was in a band called Thrush Hermit, who I've mentioned on my channel before, and then he gone on to, here in Canada, a very successful solo career, both under his own name and also with his band, the Joel Plaskett Emergency. Anyways, they were all friends. Matthew Grimson was a very, very unique artist and musician. He and very prolific. Like, he released so much material. His work has often been compared to artists as diverse as Warren Zevon, John Cale, Rocky Erickson, and Randy Newman. And he had a real gift for just bizarre lyricism, odd tempo changes and things like that, while still remaining quite accessible. Like, I mean, the riffs and the hooks are there. His voice is maybe an acquired taste for some. I love his voice, but it's not, the type of voice that will be instantly pleasing to everybody. But he was, he's the type of guy that you don't know where his career is going to go. He took his life in 2018, and so never really released stuff. But basically, it was following his death. Joel Plaskett and others played a tribute show for him, because he was a bit of a local hero in Halifax. A lot of people were familiar. Bootlegs of bootleg recordings of this album were kind of widely circulated just in that area. But anyways, while sorting through his possessions, his sister Kristen found the original tapes for this album. And so Joel Plaskett and Chris Murphy from Sloan got together with these master tapes and recorded this album, both on the Murder Records label, which is Sloan's record label, and it's kind of a joint venture with New Scotland Yard, which is Joel Plaskett's label. Chris Murphy and Andrew Scott from Sloan play on this album. Matt Murphy from he was in bands like the Super Friends and Flashing Lights. He's been in a lot of bands that aren't super well known, but they're known by those who know them. But anyways, they play on this album as well. This is This is fascinating. This is such a great album. I really enjoyed. I've spun it a number of times, and I think it's so good. If you get a chance to listen to it, as you can see, the back cover is basically just the cassette that this stuff was originally recorded on. But yeah, lyrically, it's so out there. You glowering joke, your eyes from the green cloth of billiards. There's an armed Gideon in this crazy refrain. I'd like to eat your apple on a Saturday night. I'd like to ride your Appaloosa on the Isle of Wight. Get lost, Helen of Troy. You hold the cards, and I'm only a poor boy who came out to play in Chalk Shadow Plays. Prize for writing. The lead track. The Governor General with the hard-to-say name has given me a prize for writing. I haven't written a thing in 10 months' time, but they've given me a prize for writing. I ransacked the library for inspiration, and I vandalized Chandler's grave. I slammed it out all crotchety like Dorothy Parker, and they've given me a prize for writing. A prize for writing, a prize for writing. They might as well pay me for lying. Something I can sell to pay the bills, but the typewriter keys are still bent, slurring everything I had written, obscured all but my intent, and they've given me a prize for writing. So on and so forth. Anyways, it's just, I loved it.
You said you would meet me at 4:45, and I'm sitting in the 6:15 cafe. The Chinese girl brings another fortune cookie, and it's cracked like the coffee cup. It says, na 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 na, hey poor boy, na 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 na, hey poor boy. You threw the Christmas wreath in the street on New Year's Eve. Our suburban street, industrial city, Easter shakoots and me. I'm in a shaggle and white fox, stamping letters for a miniature. She told me she came from Yarra River, but the tag on her wedding said onion blade.
I loved this album. You just don't know what's going to happen, eh? You don't know if this is the type of thing that will just, a few Sloan fans will check it out. It doesn't sound like, well, it doesn't really sound like Sloan, but you can tell that it's, you can hear that Sloan plays with them in that. But anyways, it's you just don't know, eh? Like, this is the type of thing that's destined to be a cult classic. Or it could just continue to fade into obscurity. You never know. But I really enjoy this album. And depending on how it goes, like, he's got so much material that's never been recorded, like never been officially released, that there's the Murder Records podcast had an interview with like Jay Ferguson from Sloan interviewed Chris Murphy from Sloan and Joel Plaskett and about Matthew Grimson and this album. And anyways, yeah, it was really good. So this is my big recommendation for the day. If you get a chance to check anything out, if it's a little too jarring for you, well then, try some of the other stuff that I've shown today. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. VC, stay happy. Continue doing what you like. Don't let others get you down, and just keep spinning your records. All right. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Take care.